Well, first, I lost an internal bet in my team of 5 cents because I thought we'd actually get the deal done ahead of when the leaders announced. They thought they'd get it done by last fall. And I felt you had all the markings, all the trappings on both sides to get the deal done, maybe even faster than that. But it took a little longer than expected. And of course, there's a couple of times during that period that it sounded like they had an agreement inked and ready for the president's signature, but the president decided not to sign it. I think at the end of the day, two major things that really helped to break the logjam. First and foremost, the United States wanted India's commitment to buy a certain percentage of American goods to make sure that that trade deficit starts to get repaired, because the United States has about a 2-to-1 trade deficit with India. But the second thing, is going back to agriculture market access. For India, there's staple grains that are simply a no-go. Strong red lines politically that we know Prime Minister Modi can't cross. For the United States, it's a bit of game of chicken, thinking that, is this a negotiating ploy? Is that a real red line? So I have a hunch that when we see the final details of the agreement, we're going to see that a lot of staple grains that are grown by Indians across the country were probably left out of the market. You might have some agriculture market access and more novel fruits and vegetables and nuts and things like that. But that's the two things. What is India going to buy from the United States to offset the trade deficit, and how we're going to manage agriculture market access to India, knowing there's red lines? Well, I think there's a lot of actors. At the end of the day, the fact that India approached the United States pressure with a really calm head. Last time that President Trump was in office, we actually had a medium-intensity trade war. People kind of forget, but the United States hit India pretty hard with our tariffs against steel and aluminum. That wasn't India-specific, but India was hit hard. The United States revoked India's trade preferences under the GSP program for developing countries. India initiated retaliatory tariffs. There India was actually fighting back aggressively. And even though the leaders had a warm relationship, on trade at least, you still had a lot of fighting happening on both sides. This time, India didn't fight back. They put their head down, tried to find a pathway forward, put things on the table, kept being comfortable reopening negotiations and trying to comply. So first and foremost, tip of the hat on the Indian side for not taking the bait and choosing to use this as a moment to fight. But of course, we did have one substantial change in recent months, which is the President nominating one of his own personal advisors, Sergio Gore's ambassador. So once the final report is written about what happened, I wouldn't be surprised if having somebody that close to the President to really get a better understanding about what is a red line and what's not probably was helpful too in unlocking it this last phase.